right now what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. Nintendo owns this. Nintendo invented the fighting. Nintendo invented the HP bars. Nintendo invented comedy. Nintendo invented Notidle. Nintendo invented YouTube. Nintendo has recently been under hot waters in terms of public opinion, be it due to their choice in pricing of how they price their consoles and games, or be it due to how they are approaching their patent fight against Palworld. Nintendo just seemed to be unable to avoid being under controversy in the latest days. And believe it or not, I didn't want to make back-to-back videos on them, but I feel like they are bringing so much problems to the gaming industry lately that I have to talk about them. And don't be fooled, they are not the only detractors in the problems I'm gonna talk about, but their legacy to the gaming industry is so good and amazing that I feel that if Nintendo was the first company to change this, we would already get a massive victory for us in the gaming industry and as customers also. First problem for me is not having their old games accessible in one way or another. I understand that big companies that have old games might want to still profit from them. So like if they want to release their old games on their new platform and they have proper ways to do so, I'm all thumbs for that. But if a lot of games, as it is a lot of the case, they are not making the efforts to bring them to new generations or make them accessible somehow, obviously people are going to rely not only on second-hand buying from people who used to own those games, but also maybe illegal ways that people will actually upload this to clouds and stuff like that. And I think this shouldn't even be legal. If a company is not actually trying to sell or profit and make it available to buy in any way, shape or form, they shouldn't be using legal force to prevent other people from distributing. Obviously I don't think other people should profit from that, but to be distributing that, I really think people should have access to old games. And if companies don't want to put in the efforts to make these old games available, I think they should just be available to everybody. So a lot of companies are a culprit in this one, and I think this is a major problem in the gaming industry. But if Nintendo already changed this, and we already have seen that Nintendo tries to have some of their old games available on new platforms, but that is always usually unstable. We want more official ways to have that, but it's a step on the right direction. The second major problem for me is legally pushing competitors and fans alike. So if you we have examples of Nintendo forcing competitions and tournaments and even charity events to not use their intellectual property in one way or another, be it to promote. And it's insane, and I'm not going to pretend that I know all the legal intricacies in protecting your own intellectual property, but we can safely say that Nintendo does it to a heavy extent. And not to talk about how their approach to the patent in the gaming industry. Patenting game mechanics is already very controversial, and obviously for good reason, right? Because games are made innovating and updating on old mechanics. So games are always copying each other and trying to do something different, something better, something innovative, and sometimes they are lazy. Sometimes they don't even try to innovate or do anything. But usually this is how the gaming industry evolves, and new games rise, and new ideas and new iterations, and even mixing of two different genres. So the way that Nintendo is approaching patenting, and especially the way they are approaching generalized patenting, because we are seeing they are trying to get new patents every day, and it is clear that these new patents on stuff that has been already been established for more than 20 years in the gaming industry are just a chase to actually hold power and pressure on other developers, so they don't do it, because you have to be big, you have to have a good legal team to actually fight this, because many people say that these patents wouldn't hold in the court of law, but the problem is that many people wouldn't want to dare and fight Nintendo over this, and this will not stop with Nintendo. Many other companies will see this, and if this works, be it using these patents to actually pressure your competitors out of the market, or using these patents to earn royalties, charge like a copyright strike on a YouTube video, so a copyright claim, and then you do the same, a royalty claim on a game that has similar things to a mechanic you just patent. So you will see how this can be used to pressure competition out of the market. I don't think this is good. I think many other companies will actually follow Nintendo, and not to fight each other, but to have this legal pressure over other small titles trying to innovate. Indie games nowadays and indie developers have more and more space in the market, and they are eating a bigger and bigger pie in the market share of the gaming industry. And I think this is one of the weapons that big companies will start to use to try and prevent indies from getting bigger and growing into their own genres that they dominate. I think this is a huge problem for the games industry, and Nintendo is pioneering this and giving a bad example for the whole world to see. And this really puts me off against them, because I really think they are doing a disservice to the whole industry, and they are being super greedy and thinking only about themselves doing this. And you know what's worse? If this is like a cash problem response, like, oh my god, we need to do this because otherwise we will lose money, be it indies taking a part of our audience, or be it due to we just need to earn royalties from this game, so we are establishing this patent so we can start, you know, charging a little bit when indie games or other type of AA games and competitors use similar mechanics. But I think this point is moot. Nintendo has been contained into the console world, and there's a lot of things they can do, a lot of different ways they can still earn more revenue than they are already earning, and they don't have to divert this many funds into the legal industry just to try and get a little bit for themselves in the process. So since we are talking about price, let's jump into the third problem, which is their pricing on both their physical and digital goods. These pricings go beyond the reality of a regular customer base. And I'll be the first one to admit, maybe my third world origins wait a little bit on how I judge if their price is fair or not, if it's affordable, you know. But ever since I knew Nintendo, their prices seems to be exclusive, and it has a very high entry point. And even though gaming itself has become accessible these days, I still feel that Nintendo holds that level of being premium. And I'll be the first one to admit it again. Nintendo games are great since a lot of years ago. Their big main franchises like Mario and Zelda, they are really good, and I really like playing them to this day. Their old games and their new games, they are good in a lot of different ways, obviously. And this is even a big selling point, because they are always trying to innovate. So we have a lot of different games in all of these franchises, and just to name a few, we still have Pokemon, which didn't innovate a lot, but still has a lot of different things that they try. So I can understand why Nintendo fancy themselves on being a premium and exclusive company, but this really hurts and puts people off. And I think there are other ways that they could earn that extra revenue. One thing that I always say, and it might be a little bit controversial, but they could release their peripherals and also their games into the computer market. Just imagine, we know the public is there, and we know a lot of people would buy Nintendo games on the PC. Obviously, this would mean these people wouldn't buy their consoles and stuff like that, but they are probably reaching an audience that would never actually buy their consoles. So selling their games, peripherals, and even software to actually read and process those peripherals would be an actual good investment for Nintendo, in my opinion. Obviously, they would need to pivot a lot of expansion into actually porting games into the computer, but I really believe Nintendo would benefit a lot if they try to pivot. And I mean in numbers. A lot of the market, a lot of the stuff is there, and they would be big competitors in the PC market, and they would probably increase their revenue. I understand that they come from an old time and their traditions have been holding the company apart, but I really think that they should invest in growing into the PC market, just as Sony is doing. And I understand Nintendo consoles, compared to all the other ones, have the most difficult mechanics to translate to a desktop computer, obviously, but I still think many of the games would be easily doable from one system to another. And I think with the not a lot of effort, just the necessary effort to make a proper port, they can have a lot bigger share of the market and gaming industry, having a lot of new customers from the PC market, and also the people who double dip from the Nintendo consoles and also on the PC. And this ties up to everything number 2, number 3, and number 4, which I'm going to say now, is that I really think that Nintendo should release their games into PC, be it under, I don't know, some sort of emulator they will do, a launcher, a storefront of their own. I think they are really wasting their time not trying to sell some of their games. Obviously they don't need to sell everything, but they can grab some new modern titles and try to sell them on PC, maybe grab some old titles, try to do some compilations and try to sell also that on PC. I bet you that even Super Mario World from the Super Nintendo would sell very well on the PC. So I really think I understand that, as I said before, they might have some traditions and some stuff that they are trying to keep, and this makes them not very welcoming of the idea of selling their games on PC. They're probably afraid of how PC games get ripped, and there's data mining, and they're probably trying to avoid that, but it's not as if they are able to totally avoid that, even releasing it on console either. We know how much people mod their consoles, how much they modify it, and honestly, to an extent, it's even understandable. People are trying to buy their devices, and some people like to modify their digital devices. They are not always trying to tamper and earn a profit over the company because of that. So I really think that Nintendo should change their stance on this, and I think, as I said before, this is also something that would open the market for them, and they would have the possibility of earning a lot more money than they do now. Now let me be clear, I think Nintendo games are one of the tops in the industry. Their main franchises like Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, and many others. And while these games are clearly family oriented, I think there's a lot of value in having those in the industry, and family value games, family oriented games are extremely good and fun, and we also need that. Not all games needs to be gritty and mature, and Nintendo produces not only that, but a lot of innovating and cool mechanics to have. In an industry that is hyper-focused on realism, and having Nintendo releasing their games in a cartoonish and stylized way is still a fresh breath of air. And not to even mention how their console interacts with all the stuff they have from the Wii and their handheld, even the 3DS, everything they are trying to innovate and push the boundaries. So there's a lot of value on that, and that is the reason why I'm picking up on this company and talking about them so much, because I think they are strong, they have good ideas, and they have a good track record of trying to innovate, and I think this is very valuable in this industry. That, along with the fact that I have previously pointed that Nintendo bosses have taken pay cuts in the past to avoid layoffs and due to low performance to their investors. So I think there is a lot of good values inside Nintendo. When I criticize them a lot like this, it's not because I want them to fail, but I believe that they have glaring issues that should be tackled, and if solved, this company would be the greatest company of all time. Obviously, let's say, for example, I pointed 4 main big issues. Let's say they solve 2 of these. This would already mean a lot. What do you guys think about all of these? Do you agree with me? Do you think Nintendo has these issues that I have pointed out? Do you think they have different issues? Do you think they are perfect and there is no problem at all with how they are approaching both their pricing, right? And also this legal battle that they are doing, not only with Palworld, but they are casting a shadow over all the whole game industry. I want to know your opinion, guys. Please tell me in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video, if you didn't dislike the video, but I want to know your opinions about it, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much, and bye bye.